Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the Daily Racing Forum, taking a look at the race of the day for this Tuesday, September 9th, and my background decor might be spot on for this video. We're going to head to Fort Erie Racetrack for the second leg of the OLG Canadian Triple Crown. It's the Prince of Wales Stakes, and just like the Preakness, 1 mile and 3/16 on the dirt here for the 3-year-olds. This will go as race number 9 of 10 on the Tuesday card from Fort Erie. And so we look at this field of 7, 6 of the names. They should look very familiar from the first leg of the Triple Crown, the King's Plate. And one of those names should really stand out. It's been a little bit of a heated and maybe sore subject in recent years in both the American and Canadian Triple Crown surrounding what does the first leg winner does? What does the Derby winner do? What does the Plate winner decide to do? And you can see these connections. They have opted to go here in the second leg, that being the connections of Mansetti, a very impressive winner in this year's rendition of the King's Plate. Took them gate to wire, just did it so easily. So excited to see him at Fort Erie this Tuesday. And we'll see how it's going to work for him now on the surface switch. From the Tapeta to the dirt, these runners will go. And that's going to be a very interesting subject as we go through this field of 7 momentarily. But a lot's going to have to do with the pace. So our friends at Timeform US, they have a pace projector for us to take a look at, and I think this is spot on. I think anyone looking at the past performances, they'll see Scorching, Mansetti. They're going to be the forward two, and you can see Mansetti out in front here for Scorching, maybe tracking in second. Completely agree with this. It's basically what we saw unfold in the King's Plate, and I have no reason to think this is going to be very different. I will say maybe Ashley's Archer is going to try to be a little bit more involved than the last race suggests. A lot had to do with post. We can talk about that a little bit later. But Scorching, Mansetti, those two look to be the front runners. And then just worth noting, the late pace flag is attached to the number 1 Faber, who will wear the same silks as Mansetti of the Allwellings, also trained by Kevin Attard. And that's actually where we're going to kick things off here with the number 1 Faber. From the inside, I think when you look at the plate, you have to watch the whole replay, but in terms of his performance, he runs well from being dead last early on, having to work out a trip. He had some bumps along the way, but he still rallied to finish 6th. I think he certainly outran his odds of 41-1. He took a step up, and he has races that when you kind of go back to them, whether it be his game second place finish at Turfway Park behind Urban Planner, or then his return to Woodbine, those races are good. I know the Buyers don't necessarily stick out. I'm okay with that. I think, you know, his concern that surrounds him, and the concerning part about him is his running styles, that he typically has too much work to do. And they did put the blinkers on last time out. Didn't necessarily help him all that much, but I'm just a little concerned he's going to have too much work to do late. But I do like that he draws the inside here. I think that's going to be key to save ground in this event. The number 2 Runaway again up next will carry the black, red, and gold silks that we saw in the winner's circle last year in this event when Vitality won. Runaway again is a horse that he was a Runaway winner on debut. He looked very good. It's not like he won in gate to wire fashion. He earned that victory, and he did it very impressively by over 9 lengths. Now, he had a very tall task in the plate. Anyone knows that. I know he wasn't one of the longest shots on the board, but to go from a maiden special weight to the plate in just your second career start, it's not easy. You have a bigger field, you have to run further in terms of distance, and you have to work out a trip, and it just didn't happen for him. He didn't fire a big race. Good thing to see is work on September 1st over the training track up at Woodbine. Dirt surface, 59-3, a very good workout. That with his pedigree, I don't think the dirt is going to be an issue, and Ryan Munger was aboard for his debut score. He will climb back aboard here in the Prince of Wales. The number 3, Mansetti. We talked about the plate winner. We've talked about the plate. We have to show the stretch run now of the King's Plate. And Mansetti just set very comfortable fractions for himself. 47-2, 112-2, and then 136-3 for a final time of 203-3. And it just looked very easy for him throughout. It kind of gave me a little bit of a feeling of Paramount Prince, the way that he won the plate. I felt like it was kind of seeing that once again. And Mansetti by no means needs the lead. He just ended up getting on the lead. His position in the starting gate certainly helped with that, but very good ride from Pietro Moran, who's been aboard him 3 times, all 3 of those starts victories. Now, if you want to try to knock him a little bit, I think there's 2 ways to do it. It's probably the fact that once in a while he throws a bad performance. One of those bad performances, this would be the second maybe kind of poking a hole at him would be in the Jerome. He just didn't fire in the Jerome, and I know it was in the States, it was a different sort of path, but obviously they had some confidence, wanted to give him the shot, and he didn't fire in there. It's not to say that he can't do it now at Fort Erie, but that would be my one knock against him. I think if you're looking for a positive to maybe redeem himself a little bit for the dirt performance, it would just be the fact that Kevin Attard utilized what he could, which was shipping to Fort Erie to get that drill, and they were happy with what they saw, 48-4. So he's able to do that with this one. He was able to do it with Faber, and he's also able to do it with his outside runner in here, DeWolf. So I think in terms of, the dirt, it shouldn't be an issue for him, especially when you combine that with the way that Fort Erie plays. Traditionally, it has been a speed favoring track. I think weather can certainly affect that, but regardless of the distance, 1 turn, 2 turn, typically speed does very well. Not to say that you can't win from off of it. That was the case from Vitality last year. It was a big field. He was able to work out a trip from mid-pack. Now, the number 4, Scorching, he's interesting to me. I think he's obviously going to be close to it early on. Now, he had a chase in the plate, and you don't necessarily want to chase, especially going 1.25 miles. Now, slight cutback might help him. The dirt might help him in here. I just prefer trips such as the 1, 3, and 4 starts back. I like when he sits a little further off of it. 2 lengths, maybe 3. Originally, I thought he needs to be a length or 2 off of it. Now I'm thinking 2 or 3 at max, and then just let him make 1 run. Curious to see how he's going to perform on the dirt. The big thing is if you use tools such as Formulator, open up all works. Have to remember at one point they did send him to New York. They were aiming some of those races, and he was training in New York, and obviously, they're going to finally get that crack at the dirt. I think that's a positive here for Scorching, and another one that should get the right setup. Now, the number 5, Ashley's Archer, wasn't able to get going, and obviously had a bad post in the King's Plate, post 13 all the way out there, and I thought had some trouble in the beginning and then just sort of retreated and never got going. So I don't want to necessarily hold the plate performance against Ashley's Archer. I think he can step up. He has dirt performances under his belt. I thought his 7 ace runner-up finish at Tampa, I know he was favored in the wagering, but he tried. He was just no match for the winner. You look at the winner in there, Art Fair, he was able to basically take them gate to wire. So I don't think that helped him. And then next time out, they stretched him out, and his second started off the layoff, and he didn't fire. But he regrouped nicely back in July up at Woodbine. And I think it's worth noting, in terms of the family that he comes from, the mare's certainly special. I know she was 0 for 4 in the money in her career, but she's gone on to produce some very nice horses, including Coltimus Prime, who took the Prince of Wales back in 2014 in his career. You can even see others that have fared quite well on the dirt. That includes a horse by the name of Narrow Escape, who raced in the Prince of Wales, Passioned, who was 4th just a year ago in this event. I think the dirt is actually going to be this horse's friend, so excited to see Ashley's Archer return to the dirt. The number 6, Humber River. We'll take a look at his most recent performance. It's going to be his second career victory back on August 3rd, and I liked this trip. I don't think this was necessarily a victory that was handed to him. I thought he gave up some ground at some points and was still able to draw clear in here. Very curious to see how he's going to transition onto the dirt, and have to remember that he's only gone around 2 turns twice now in his career, his last 2. Prior to that, he was sprinting. His first race of the year was sprinting. So this has been a little bit new to him, but I thought he did it well. Now he's going to have to kind of transition to a different surface, and that will be a little bit of a question for him. But top side of the pedigree, Bean by Frack Daddy, suggests, sort of average things on the dirt. I know dirt routing numbers are a little below average, but I don't think it's going to be a huge issue here for Humber River. And maybe he gets a little bit of a different trip. Maybe he has the ability, as we've seen in the past, to be a little bit closer than horses such as Faber, but not as close as the Mansettis and the Scorchings of this group. We'll round it out here with the number 7, DeWolf, a son of Silent Name, who was 5th in the King's Plate, and prior to that was 6th in the Plate Trial. And he's a horse that you look at him early in his career. He didn't debut until July of 2024. He finished 4th. They put him in a maiden optional. He won. They put him in the Bull Page. He won. He ended up being awarded 2nd in the Cup and Saucer. He was on a good run and capped his year off quite well with some nice second place finishes. But this year, I don't think it has been the year that they were expecting. He just hasn't been able to fire. Another one that now does have a dirt work locally at Fort Erie, and prior to that actually had a good training track drill up at Woodbine. He's 7-2 on the morning line. I would demand better value than that personally, based on what we've seen so far, and not really sure where I see him in this race in terms of trip. And just having that uncertainty makes me a little bit cautious with the outside runner. So that's the field of 7 for the Tuesday race of the day. Don't forget free past performances on the DRF website. And as we move to top picks, would love to see the Canadian Triple Crown be captured again, but I am going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go to the number 4, Scorching on top. I know the Connections were aiming for races in the States on the dirt this winter. It didn't pan out, but I think he gained a lot of fitness out of his most recent performance. I do think he was somewhat at a disadvantage chasing, and he certainly could be at that disadvantage once again, but I'm just hoping that Dylan Davis can get him in a position where he's close to it, he is comfortable, and makes one run, and maybe he comes alive here on the dirt. So Scorching on top for me. In terms of who to use underneath, I think Mansetti is the logical horse to use. I will use him in the second spot. He's going to get the right trip in here. Kevin Attard has done very good in the Prince of Wales. So to see this horse now off the plate victory come to Fort Erie, I think is a very, very positive sign. I mentioned it. I think the 5, Ashley's Archer, is intriguing, getting back on the dirt. I have to use him here in some fashion, and I'm going to use him underneath, and certainly going to be a better price than the other 2. And I could be convinced even to sneak him into an exacta depending on the price. And then finally, the number 1, Faber on the inside. He can roll late. He's going to need a ton of pace help to get a piece in here, but maybe that does unfold. Otherwise, maybe he can still close to get a minor, but really focusing in here on the number 4, Scorching. Don't forget, it's race number 9 of 10 this Tuesday at Fort Erie. They have 5 races in terms of stakes races on tap on that program, and racing action will get underway at 1:30 Eastern. As always, best of luck.